I went shopping and I couldn't find anything that sat between a surf brand and a higher price point. So we got on the beach, we ended up chatting about it, and Triangl was pretty much born that day. We'd found a manufacturer in China and they started making our products on the side and selling them in China and tried to register our name. And it wasn't just them, everyone then came and copied us. What we have to do as a brand is innovate, keep pushing forward, know that we created that. They don't have the talent to keep creating because they're copying, so let's keep creating. And when the brand became so big, it kind of outgrew me. I just was feeling not as happy as I thought that I probably should be feeling. The best thing about Triangl that I took away from it was that it does not matter what your material successes are if inside just isn't working.
Hear the stories, learn the proven methods, and accelerate your growth and future through entrepreneurship. Welcome to the Foundr podcast with Nathan Chan.
So, Erin, the first question that I ask everyone that comes on is, how did you get your job, aka how did you find yourself doing the work you're doing today?
Well, Triangl launched back in 2011 in Melbourne on a beach. And my partner at the time, co-founder Craig, we had our second date and I couldn't find a bikini. Well, actually, no, I went to find a bikini because second date at the beach is kind of, a little bit nerve-wracking. I wanted something nice. And I went shopping and I couldn't find anything that sat between a surf brand and a higher, like Zimmermann, Sea Folly kind of price point. So we got on the beach. I ended up finding something. I think I bought a Zimmermann bikini, and we ended up chatting about it. And pretty much then and there went, there's a gap in the market. This could be really fun. Why don't we keep talking about it? And Triangl was pretty much born that day.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
So what happened next?
Well, Craig had previous experience in having a business, so that was super fortunate. I hadn't. I think everyone, I was 27, so I had pretty lofty ambitions and I'm going to do this and do that, but no idea how to do it. And so we kind of started thinking about how we were going to start it and the name and the logo and the designs and all of those things. And then pretty early on, like probably a few months after that, we realized that we didn't need to, but we thought we'd move to Hong Kong. To be close to the supply chain. We also just knew that we really wanted to have a crack and we wanted to do it properly. And if we stayed in Melbourne with our identities here and our friends and our distractions, we wouldn't really commit.
Yes.
So we packed up everything, sold our small number of possessions and moved to Hong Kong.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
And you guys only on your second date?
Yes. Yeah. So it was all very quick. So we kind of, fell in love and had our personal relationship going at the same time as Triangl's, the business. So they were always very intertwined and pretty much just the same. So yeah.
Yeah, wow. And during that time period, did you leave your job?
Yeah. So Craig so he was working, he'd had a business, a fashion, but he was previously an AFL footballer and then so he's had many careers and then had a fashion label which was quite popular in Melbourne called St. Lenny. And then he went bankrupt with that, which, was jarring. Well, it wasn't really jarring for me. It was more jarring for people around me, probably my parents. But it was actually amazing and it was really integral to the success of Triangl because he'd learnt so much through that process and he'd made decisions that were bad and so it really kind of helped us. But his bankruptcy ended in April 2012.
Yes.
And so then he was able to kind of do things.
Yes.
And that was kind of why we packed up and left. He just quit his job. He'd had some design job at a company here. I was working in e-commerce at a company and I was loving it, but you could see that trajectory when you're in, and you would know when you're in another business and you're in kind of not corporate, but you're in someone else's business, you can't really accelerate to any level that you really want to. So, it was pretty easy just to pack up and give my notice and get out of here.
Yeah, I see. So what happened next? So you guys moved to Hong Kong.
Yeah.
How'd you come up with the brand, the logo, the name? Really solid.
Yeah. So Craig is, all credit to him. He's a true creative and just loves to come up with logos and names and visuals and really, you know, like he did another 10 ideas during the Triangl days for other things. Like he loves it. So that kind of was really down to him. And we came up with that pretty early on. And when we got to Hong Kong, that was really all about getting the samples and finding the money to start to manufacture something to get it out there. And we were building our website. We knew, actually we didn't know at the start we wanted to be direct to consumer. We did try wholesale a little bit.
Yes.
But we also knew that model was pretty clunky, quite hard to manage. My passion really lies in the customer experience and having that direct connection, and I knew I'd lose that in wholesale. So we were really protective of that pretty early on and made the decision to just do it online.
Yes.
And so that's kind of in the first year, which was 2012, from June onwards.
Yes.
That was what we were doing, was just hustling to get some product out into the market.
Yep. And how long did it take for you to go from idea conception to first customer to launch?
Yeah, look, so idea conception was 2011 in October, November.
Yep.
And then we sold our first bikini online in January 2013.
Yeah. Okay.
So it would have been, it was a while.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like that. I think that was that first half of 2012 when we were in Melbourne, that was just getting ready to move. And so that was exciting and there was so much potential. And then when that second half of 2012 was incredibly stressful because we'd given everything up. We were in Hong Kong, we were flat broke. We didn't even have money to go back home and we knew we couldn't go back home. We had to try everything to get this, you know, brand to launch. And so that was 6 months of real hustle, and we had to borrow some money off a few friends to really get, you know, to pay our rent and to pay to get some product out there.
And what was MOQ?
It was we were so fortunate. It was really, really low. It was like 400 pieces, which now doesn't happen at all. And that's a real hurdle for people, I think, especially trying to launch a business that's selling a product, is MOQs are so bloody high. And if they're lower, the cost goes through the roof. So we were really, really lucky. We'd found an amazing manufacturer in China. We went to trade shows in the start and just sampled with a few, found a really good one. They ended up completely screwing us, but that's another story.
Oh, let's hear that.
Yeah.
Let's hear that. Yeah, tell us about that. What happened?
Well, they copied us and they started making our products on the side and selling them in China and tried to register our name in China. So we learnt about IP and trademarks in a really painful way because we didn't do it at the start because it cost money. We didn't have money. And we also didn't know that it would become what it would become. So when we found out they were copying us, which was about 2014, and it wasn't just them, everyone then came and copied us. Like every brand in the world that was doing swimwear did a Triangl version. But they were the worst. They were trying to claim our brand and they did a mimic website, and it was pretty tough. It was pretty stressful, but we learnt a lot through it, and we really just kind of we got our name trademarked in every other place we could, and I can't even recall if we did in China in the end, but they did eventually go away, and that was just through us just, I guess at the end of the day, just ignoring them and focusing on innovating and making better product and moving to another manufacturer as well. But that was stressful. We lost all our product because we left them and they wouldn't give us any of our swimwear, so we had good month or so where we didn't have any bikinis to sell, and we were still selling them online because we didn't really know if we'd get it back or not. And it was, there were some real pain points there.
It's actually a good one because this is common, right?
Yes.
Like you have a hot product.
Yeah.
It's being manufactured in China. You do the Alibaba thing.
Yeah.
Like literally this, my fiance's bottle.
Yeah.
Healthish. This was the first time Mark water bottle like really made. And now everyone's copied it.
Oh gosh,
it's everywhere, right?
And that's what people just do.
And so, how did you work through that? What were the lessons? Because it's so easy for this to happen.
Yeah, well, the China one was, that was because they weren't pushing into our market. It didn't feel as stressful. It was awful, but we were able to sort of, I guess like separate that from what we were selling in Australia and the US. When brands like Victoria's Secret copied us, and they were very, very aggressive in doing every single bikini that we did and just copying us, straight up. And we, tried to take them on legally, which, you start the process and realize you're about to go down an incredibly expensive path. So we did all those initial aggressive, like this isn't fair and we're going to go after them and how dare they. And then you kind of, you're stressed, you're up every night till 2 a.m. finding copies and people are sending them to you. And that was obviously it was going to happen. But when you're in it, it's so tough to kind of step away from it. But you really have to. You have to go, you know what? This won't stop. I can, bang my fist, make as much noise as possible, send cease and desist letters, do whatever. But at the end of the day, they'll keep doing it. What we have to have faith in, what we have to do as a brand is innovate, keep pushing forward, know that we created that. They don't have the talent to keep creating because they're copying. So let's keep creating. And we're really fortunate to be able to keep doing that and I guess like deviate and move away from what we were doing. And still know that, and also still know that what you're making, people will still buy that. Even if there are copies, they still will want the original, as long as you're still making other product and not getting too stuck. Because it's such an investment of your time and energy to throw at people copying you. And it's taking away from your innovation and your creation of anything new. And we just saw that happening. We saw that we were spending our days doing that as opposed to creating anything new. So we just went, well, we've just got to create new things. Put the blinkers on and just keep pushing forward, and they all went away. So
yeah, wow, interesting.
Yeah.
So you end up finding a better supplier.
Yes. Yeah.
And then what happened next? Like, so those 400 pieces, how did you get that first sale? Was it through Instagram? Was that the first play, or was it friends and family?
It was friends and family. It was, we did launch our website, but obviously our social media was tiny and weren't really getting much traction as you weren't back then. So it was a lot of word of mouth.
Yes.
It was a lot of our friends and then our friends of friends and then putting it up on social media and just, we always had this tagline that we wanted to sell one bikini a day.
Yes.
Because that would match our salaries that we were making back in Melbourne.
Yes.
So without having that crazy expectation, everything felt quite attainable and achievable.
Yes.
And so we did just sort of start, I think people really undervalue word of mouth because it's not like a measurable, you can't say, oh, here's the return on investment on word of mouth. But it's so valuable and it really was huge for us. And in Australia, especially in Melbourne, people were going, oh, there's this brand, and then they saw on Instagram and, we were putting up lovely pictures of girls in bikinis, and that took a little while actually, but we did shoot 1 or 2 girls and put the bikinis on them and then put those photos up. And it was all done through Instagram pretty quickly.
Yep.
Yeah.
So where and when did you get that step change in growth? Because from my research, you guys were doing almost 200 grand a day in profits.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's insane. Did the company get to north of 100 million revenue a year? Can you talk about that?
Yeah. It got to not 100 million. It was about our biggest year would have been 60 million US because our peak was only because it's a seasonal product.
Yes.
Our peak was at different times. So there were a few months, and it still is that way. August, September, October, really lean because globally no one's really buying swimwear then.
Yes.
But yeah, so our biggest kind of step growth would have been probably the social media impact of the Kardashians, or more so Kendall Jenner. We had a few before then of bigger bloggers posting, and they were bloggers back then because that was before they changed the name to influencer.
Yep, well now it's creator.
Yeah, sorry, true.
Yeah, creator, yep, creator economy. Yep.
Influencer is a dirty word now, now it's creator.
Yeah.
So we had a few of them, and that would always, get us a couple of, not a couple, but new followers, new customers. But we really, really catapulted when we had Kendall Jenner post about our bikinis, and then that really launched us into the States. By then, we were already pretty solid in Australia. We had a pretty good customer base. We had a great mailing list.
Yep.
But the States was really because of that power factor of Kendall, really.
And when was that? And tell us how that came about.
Yeah, that was, I believe it was 2014. I could have my year wrong.
So it only took a couple of years to
Yeah, it was really quick. Once we got over that first sort of 2013, obviously there were a few pain points, but nothing slowed down. The growth would slow down, but it was still always growing. And then when Kendall posted, that was when everything went mad. And we had a bit of a strategy around that. We knew we couldn't reach, because we were reaching out to girls. So
yes.
taking a step back as well, what we did, which no one was doing back then, which most brands kind of do now, is that we were gifting without any expectation of a post in return. It was true, and we were very clear on that. We would say, we're sending you this, please don't, unless we don't need you to post it, we just want you to have it, we think you'll love it. 9 out of 10, even 9.5 out of 10 would post, because they just, and we were really genuine, because we didn't want girls posting it and not really looking good or feeling good and then posting a photo, because that would then, it'd be obvious. So that was sort of really big for us, and I think it got us quite a lot of traction in that blogger world or that social media world, because it was genuine and it wasn't saying that, we'll send you this, but post about it, like you must post. It was never that, and we never wanted to pay. I don't believe they're doing that now. We never really paid anyone, and so that was happening, and then. So we were reaching out to girls, but we knew we couldn't reach out to Kendall because she was, the big fish, and she just wouldn't reply. So we reached out to all of her friends, and they were girls that didn't really have followings. They might have had like 2,000 or something, but nothing big. 2 of them are actually Bella Hadid and Hailey Baldwin, now Bieber.
Yes.
But they were just, Hailey was just a, cute Californian girl. Like,
really?
She's sweet, young. I think she was like 16, like super, super young. Really lovely. She was a Baldwin, but that was her thing. She wasn't her own. And Bella was the same.
Really?
Bella was just they were just Kendall's friends.
Wow, and they didn't have a big following?
No, nah. So we gifted them, and then hoping that Kendall would come and chase us down, and she did. She emailed me, got my email from one of the girls who we, gifted, and said, "Oh, my friends have these bikinis. Can I get some too? They're amazing." So we sent her everything, and then that was really it. And that kind of started that movement over there, because all those girls were wearing them, and that though they became more and more influential, and it just kind of grew from there. And then we got on the other Kardashians and Kim and Kourtney and Kris Jenner.
Yeah,
and she was wearing them.
And you, all gifting.
All gifting. Yeah. All gifting. Yeah.
Because you would think that for the Kardashians you have to pay, like High Smile, or like they're paying.
Yeah. No, we didn't. It was pretty early on.
Yeah.
So, we knew that if we wanted to say guarantee a post or guarantee some kind of coverage, that we would pay. But we knew they liked the brand and that they wanted it, and they would, they'd get everything. I remember Kim requested this selection. This was early Kanye days when she changed her look. Yeah. And all the bikinis she selected were like black, white, grey, and we were like, on the Kanye effect. Like, just getting all the monochrome kind of vibe.
Yeah.
But they all really wanted it, and they wore it, and they never tagged us. But the Daily Mail picked it up, and other publications picked it up, and they would talk about us. And so it was happening anyway. We didn't need them to tag us in the end, because then we would use the photo on our page, tag them, and people would be like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Let's, try it. Wow. So it was really just fortunate and an authentic approach to doing it as well.
So as the business really grew super fast, where did you build team? Was it in Hong Kong? Did you come back here, set up base, or what did that look like?
Stayed in Hong Kong, set up a supply chain office there, but only in like second half of 2014 is when we were still working out of our apartment.
Yes.
Before that, we kept it really, really lean, really tight, really flexible, because we knew, we just didn't want to, go too far ahead on anything, just in case. So, and we still in our minds, Craig and I never expected it to be what it was. So we were still small business minded, really. Yeah. And, we still were, even when we were doing those big numbers, and we'd be meeting with people and they're like, what's your team like? And we're like, it's kind of us and like 4 other part-time people. Like, it was really, really small. So we did have the supply chain because we needed that by then. You know, we couldn't manage that sort of, production process, and in the critical path without help. But that was still would have been 5 or 6 people in Hong Kong, and that was it. And then just Craig and I, and no one else. There was no marketing, no social media. It was still predominantly me, with a team of girls that were doing the customer care, because that was a huge, part of the business, was that personal touch that, we launched live chat on our website before any other fashion business would have ever done it, because we knew that when you're buying something as intimate as swimwear, you want to feel like you can ask someone about sizing straight away. So that was really important. So we had a team, we had quite a few girls doing that in the Philippines.
Yes.
And they were just working from home and doing it there, and that was it.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
But over time it grew, or?
It's still pretty small. I mean,
Wow.
I've left,
Yeah.
but it's still a small team. There's girls in Sydney now. There's a store in Sydney, and there's a team of about, I think there's probably like 4 girls in Sydney.
Oh, wow.
But still really small. And then Craig's in Monaco, and there's still, I think, a small team in Hong Kong. But for the size of the business, the team is tiny.
Yeah,
and
wow.
because the model hasn't really changed, and, you know, I'm sure it would have taken a different path, maybe bigger, maybe better, maybe not.
Yes.
But keeping it lean and keeping it, about what we were doing was just really easy to manage. So we just kept it that way. It was kind of like, it's not broken, so.
Yeah, don't try to fix it. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really interesting, because I would have thought, as it grew and to even hit, 60 million US, not far off 100 million Australian, like 50, 100, like 150 people, like to run the operations, the marketing power, all of that. That's crazy.
Yeah, we would, because we entertained the idea of selling in 2015 because we had private equity just coming for us like you wouldn't believe. So we thought, well, why not? We'll just see. And we'd be sitting out, we sat down with Bain Capital, and they're like, so what's your team? Tell us about your team. And we're like, it's kind of us. And they're like, no, what? And it was dumbfounding in a way to people that we had built what we'd built, really just the two of us, with a few other people kind of helping on the bits that we just needed help with because we didn't have enough hours in the day. But essentially it was really Craig and I.
Hey guys, I really hope you're feeling inspired from today's interview. Now the truth is, all successful e-commerce founders started from zero, with a spark of an idea and a whole lot of determination. But let's be real, building or growing an e-commerce business is no walk in the park. And that's where Foundr Plus comes in, which I'm really excited to share with you. It's a culmination of a decade worth of work at Foundr. So if you're feeling stuck in your e-commerce business, you're lacking confidence to move forward, or you're worried about making costly mistakes or not knowing how to grow your business, Foundr Plus is here to support you on your journey. You get access to a customized learning pathway with proven frameworks from successful e-commerce founders for fast results, incredible programs, a supportive community, weekly live mentorship, exclusive savings on startup tools, and 24/7 real human support. Try Foundr Plus today for just $1 for 7 days so you can accelerate your business goals. Visit foundr.com/start $trial or click the link in the description to claim your trial. All right, now let's jump back in the show.
Let's talk about the product. I'd love to go deeper because it's product-led growth.
Yes.
It's, yes, Instagram was awesome, but, and I think sometimes people, they start an e-commerce brand and they go, I'm just going to do the influencer thing.
Yeah.
But if the product isn't something that is shareable or that people get pumped about or they love, like all that on the brand, you don't get the traction like what you have.
Exactly.
So let's talk about that.
Yeah.
How did you know when it was the right time to launch?
Because we launched with nylon spandex, like standard bikini fabric, and that was okay. We launched with graphic prints. It was kind of cool, kind of cute, but it didn't have that like it factor. Like it wasn't like it was just kind of a slightly better version of what other people were doing, but at a better price point.
Yes.
And so we were like, this is good. Like it's okay, but like there's got to be something more than this. There's got to be something different, something new. And I'm saying that I was just saying this. It was mainly Craig because he's the real innovator, and he, was going up. Look, he was obsessed with fabrics and trying this and trying that. And what about this fabric in a thick, like a thicker nylon spandex, like 4 layers, or maybe bonding it onto this, or trying all different things, and landed on neoprene. Neoprene's been around for swimwear. Obviously, it's wetsuits. And has been around in swimwear. There's, a few other brands that were doing it, but we were the first ones to obviously take it into the mainstream market.
Yes.
And we knew when we made them and when I put them on, you said that feeling. It was like, oh, this is it. Like we just knew. It just looked so good on the body, so smooth. So the lines were lovely. it looked like nothing anyone had really done before. And this was, you know, the colour with the black binding. It was so simple, but it just felt special.
Yes.
And we knew it would photograph well. It would work really well being an e-commerce business because it looked impressive to get. You know, it was more solid. It wasn't like, you know, non-spandex, you know, you can squash into a ball. It was, you know, impressive to look at and hold, and it looked really good on. So that was when we knew, and then when we put that out, that was what people gravitated to, because they were like, we haven't seen this. This is new to us, and it's not expensive, so let's give it a go.
But it didn't sell that fast straight away, right?
Not really. Like it did. What we noticed is because we launched with nylon spandex, that was slow. That was still like, you know, maybe like a couple of sales a week, you know, and getting a bit of growth every week. So we were like, this is okay.
But you didn't sell out first day, like people weren't banging down the doors.
No, not at all. We were okay with the growth because we didn't have any overheads. We weren't paying ourselves. We weren't paying anyone else. Yeah. So we were like, and you know, we just knew that we could sort of kind of move with it and change. When we put the neoprene out, that is when we saw that jump from 3-4 sales a week to be 3-4 sales a day. And we were like, okay, all right, interesting, good. And then we put a few more colours out in it. And we were like, oh, okay, this is, you know, and then we did a proper photo shoot in Bali. And then these little things that would happen along the way in the start, and we'd see that growth. And it wasn't massive growth, not until, you know, like 6 months or a year later, but we were growing enough to see that what we were doing was working, and we were nurturing our customers. You know, we were talking to them, we were helping them through processes of returning, or if something broke, or, you know, and so there was just a really good energy and feeling around it. And it was Craig and I doing everything. So we were sending out the product, we were talking, doing the social media, we were emailing the customers, we were doing it all. So we were really able to tune in on what was going on at every angle. And even though the growth looked small from the outside in the beginning, for us it was huge, because we were like like I used to get the PayPal notifications on my phone, so it would ding when a sale would come through, and that was like the best. I remember eventually having to turn it off because there were just too many, and being so sad that chapter ended, because every sale was just that confirmation that we were doing the right thing. And when that got up to, you know, 10 a day, or, you know, even less than that, like 5 a day was still amazing. 10 a day was great. And then when it got to sort of like 30, 40 a day, we were like, okay, we're onto something. Like this is going to be great. You can just feel it.
And so how did you guys manage cash flow around this rapid growth?
Yeah. So, I mean, we were always cash flow positive from launch. We never borrowed, apart from the initial, so where we borrowed to make the product.
Yes.
Once we sold our first bikini, we never borrowed money again. So we were always able to, you know, we weren't spending much money ourselves. We were living super lean, but we were able to pay for the manufacturing, pay for our rent. We weren't paying girls for the swimwear. We were just sending products. So we had a huge, you know, we were making that extra product to gift.
Yes.
But, you know, Craig had really worked on getting our costings super, super, super low. So we were able to gift, and you know, we had no other overheads. So cash flow, we just kept growing our cash, really, and not spending it, because we were loving watching it come in. Yeah. So we were like, let's keep it. So yeah, we were really fortunate.
Like even with like as the business rapidly grew and product, you need to keep MOQs get bigger and bigger. Well, there's no MOQ, like you just bigger and bigger and bigger orders. You guys didn't fall into any difficult.
No. The more we made, the more we put back into making more styles, doing better photo shoots.
Yes.
Hiring better models, getting better photographers. You know, Craig used to do the shoots. He used to be the photographer, and I would hold the like it was literally that kind of, you know, and we would edit. No, I think we would outsource the editing, but we would do that bit ourselves. So it was all done in that way. So when we got more money, it was just to put those few things in place to make the brand look better. You know, maybe hire we hired a girl in Canada to do the live chat on the side that I was sleeping, because I couldn't do it, you know, 24/7. So those little things, but it all went back into the business.
Yeah, you know? Wow. Yeah. Super lean operation.
Oh,
I thought it would be much bigger.
No, so lean.
So you've been fairly open around kind of the challenges personally with the growth of the business. I'd love to hear kind of like the real side of that.
Yeah.
Like, is it, you know, people from the outside, you know, you're on the young rich list, you know, people might think, oh, wow, she's got it all worked out. I'd love to trade places with her.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear some of the struggles.
Yeah. So in the beginning it was great and we loved it, and my skill sets were super, you know, tangible, and I knew what I was doing and I knew my place, and it was customer care and it was Instagram, and that was great. And then when the brand became so big and huge, and it you know, kind of outgrew me, and I didn't know where I fit in, and that was happening at the same time as making a ton of money and all this success, and I had my first baby, and, you know, and from the outside, every box was being ticked. Like, you know, I'd ticked every box that you could tick by that age, and I was completely internalizing how I was feeling so much that I didn't even really know what was going on at the time. I just was feeling not as happy as I thought that I probably should be feeling. And then just putting that down to just, we were so busy that I just wasn't stopping and pausing. But it was really that I lost my way through that business. I was 27 when it started. So they're really formative years of working out who you are. And I was Triangl. Like, that was me. That was my identity. So, you know, you go along on that path with it, and you don't really ever get to step away from it because it is you. And, you know, I guess, you know, when I got to the really top bit, and that was when we moved to Monaco, and we had, you know, we were multimillionaires and the rich list, and, you know, and I asked to not go on that every year because I just didn't want that to be what it was about, because I didn't like attach myself to that. I don't know whether it was I didn't feel worthy, or I was embarrassed, or because I wasn't feeling super fulfilled and happy. I didn't want people to see that and it not be the reality. But I was really, really struggling, and I didn't want anyone to know, because I felt like people would just be like, how dare you be struggling? Like, look at your life. Like, you've got all the money, you've got a partner, a baby, you live in Monaco, you like, come on, like. But I was really, it's the best thing about Triangl that I took away from it was that it does not matter what your material successes are if inside just isn't working. It just really doesn't matter. And I had to learn that the really hard way. And now I look back, and there were great times. I wasn't miserable the whole time, but I just wasn't able to work out. I didn't have the ability to work out what it was that wasn't working, because I'd lost that sense of self completely. You know, it took 4 years to really recently to actually be like, I know who I am and I've found my place and I'm ready to go again.
Can you tell us a little bit more around that journey and kind of lessons you could share with people watching, because the highs are high and the lows are low.
Yeah.
And there is a dark side of entrepreneurship where it's really tough.
It's tough. It's isolating, and it's, you know, you become your brand, and that is your identity. And when I exited in 2018, I did not know who, you know, Erin was. Like, I just didn't know. I had 2 children. I had all this, you know, money, which I didn't actually really have because we were settling and there were disagreements with that, and we've only just recently settled. So that was also happening. And I didn't want to go back to Australia and come back to Melbourne, and I didn't want to lose my identity and attachment to Triangl, because I knew everyone here was so impressed by that. And my ego was like, no, like, hold on to that. But I needed to let it go to grow and to like find myself again. So, you know, it was a really long process. And I guess, you know, it's something that I wish, because, you know, I still think about that time, and if I was in my 20s and I was watching me and I was back in Melbourne watching this girl succeed and do that, I'd be like, I want that. And I still fall into that trap now of I see people, you know, making a ton of money or living overseas or traveling, and I fall into that trap of, oh, like, that would be nice. Like, maybe like I should do that, or like, I wish I could, or, but at the end of the day, it just really doesn't matter like what you're doing and where you are in life, because if you don't feel that, you know, and it's kind of cheesy, but if you don't feel that fulfillment or that self-worth or that, you know, kind of grounded feeling of what your values are and what your belief system is and all that kind of stuff, if you don't have that, you won't be happy no matter what you do. You could be swimming in money. You could be, shopping every day like I was and spending thousands of dollars and feeling numb about it. Like that's where I was at. So I wish I had been, I wish I could tell, I wish I could go back and tell myself that. Or what I really want to do now is actually tell women that you don't have to be on the hamster wheel of chasing these things because they might not fulfill you. And they might. Like there's things that I am ready to go again about that'll probably be similar goals. But I know that I'm coming from a base of knowing me and knowing what fills me up and what makes me happy. So, yeah. So this is a lesson. Lots of lessons.
Yeah, lots of lessons. So you exited. I'm curious, what's the plans now?
Yeah. Well, it's exciting. It's taken me, I did take 4 years off. I have 4 children, so I was busy and I was really working myself out and getting back into, Erin and that world. So I took a real break, took a really long time to work out who I was and find what I really loved and what really, made me ignited that kind of passion in me, because Triangl had that to an extent, but not in the same way I feel about what I'm doing now. And what I really want to do and what I am doing is make women, especially in business, doesn't have to be entrepreneurs. Obviously I have a soft spot for entrepreneurs. I know how it feels, but just women in business, men as well. But I really do feel super passionate about women because I know what it was like before, I know what it was like during, and I know how I am now. And I want them to feel less alone, less isolated, more empowered, just better about themselves, because, everyone is worthy and everyone has the potential to do amazing things. Everyone just has roadblocks like we all do, and we all have to navigate them and understand them and move through them. So, that's where I'm really, really moving into. And I've been doing a bit of mentoring. I'm setting up my website. I'm moving into a few different structures that I'm like, I really feel like Triangl was there for me to now do this. Like, this is what I'm really ready to do.
So you're going to move into more investing, advisory, mentoring, board?
Yeah. Mentoring, definitely, it'd be really, I really do, I come from sort of working in corporate, so I really do want to tap into those women as well, and men. I keep saying women because I just feel like it's just more natural for me. And I really want to tap into that and just make people feel better about what they're doing. And I've done a little bit of it. I've sort of become a lot more active on my social media, which was a bit, I felt silly, but now I feel really good about it. I feel like I'm having great conversations. I'm connecting with women again. I know where I'm going. So yeah, it's exciting.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, 2022, there's a lot of e-commerce brands launching.
Yeah.
What are common mistakes that you're seeing people make? And because it sounds like you're doing some mentoring maybe with e-com founders or female founders.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear kind of what are common mistakes you're seeing people make.
I think a lot of people are, I think it's a tough one. It's probably, for me, it's a few things. You've got to have the right intention when you're starting a business, whatever it is. And people, underestimate, I think, a few things. And it's the way other people can feel what your intention is. Like, they know what you're doing, like why you're doing what you're doing. It's like, it's not tangible, but it's there. And I think a lot of people will start a business with the wrong intention and then wonder why it's not working, because they're like chasing an idea of being an entrepreneur, or they're chasing an idea of selling this product or an idea of this, but it's not really what they are like truthfully doing. So I think that's one mistake. I think people still underestimate, the customer journey and nurturing a customer, treating them like they are, king. I think that's, along with product being obviously number one, that's customer is like also number one. They sit together. They're equally as important as each other, because if your product's amazing but you don't nurture your customer, they're not going to come back to you. Someone else will make a similar product and they'll do it, and then they'll just go to, there'll be no loyalty. I think brands need to, in 2022, I think it's coming back, but I think that connection with the customer and building up that loyalty and that even that word of mouth, kind of untangible connections that you're making they're not as obvious. Like you're not paying to like sponsor a post on Instagram or like boost, you know, whatever it is, but you are putting the effort in and you will see it come back to you. It's just, you can't, you know, see it on a piece of paper, but it's really important. I think brands really need to focus on that.
And what about influencer marketing 2022? If you were to, do you have aspirations to start another brand? If you did, how would you approach that now?
Yeah, look, I don't have any aspirations at the moment. I'm, you know, happy to move into where I'm moving into. But if I did, you know, influencer marketing, I think it's still really important and valid and you can get a lot of traction there. But again, I think it comes back to the intention and, you know, and making the experience amazing. Like I'm now starting to get a bit of, you know, and I'm not a creator or an influencer, so I don't do anything like that, but I am getting those things come through, and it's so interesting to me because I'm like, this is what I used to do, and you know, you can tell the ones that are really genuine, you know, and like I'll get messages from women saying I'm starting this brand and it's mine, and I'd love to send you something, and you can feel that they just want me to try it because they value my opinion.
Yes.
And I love that versus the ones that are like, hey, I want to like, you know, send you this and can you like tag it and send, and it's just so transactional. And I think that is really just not the way to do it. I know brands will get some success doing it that way, but it's not, for me, it doesn't have any long-standing success. I think that you've really got to treat everyone respectfully, genuinely, with a lot of integrity, and really that starts from having the right intention at the start with your business, you know, and knowing why you're doing it. And it's okay if it's because you know, you want to make money or you want to be, you know, so the intention doesn't have to be some honourable, like philanthropic kind of intention. It just has to be true to you and really not be caught up in some like idealistic ego or, you know, whatever it is. Yeah, I think that, you know, that's really important.
And I guess a common thing that you hear is like, I tried influencer marketing, it doesn't work. What would you say?
I would say it does. It just takes time. It's not an overnight thing. I think that it's that on social media you see the brands doing well and you see the people with a lot of followers and it's so easy to get caught up in that. But other people are doing this and they're doing that and I'm doing the same. And it's like, well, just persevere with what you feel is right. And, you know, again, it's like a little woo-woo, but really tune into that gut feel. Like you know when you're doing the right thing or you're on the right path with something, like you feel it. So if they say the influencer marketing is not working, it's like, well, what isn't working about it? Because it's either the way they're reaching out to an influencer or who they're reaching out to. Maybe they're going for all the big fish or they're going for a particular type who's not even aligned with what they're selling. It's just like bringing that back and like asking yourself a lot of questions and then starting again and pushing forward and maybe like deviating that way.
Yeah, and if somebody wanted to learn from you around how to get well-known celebrities to post about their brand, what would you say?
Oh, I think it's a different landscape now. I would, I'm not about pay. I still don't think you have to pay. Different for a campaign. If you want a celebrity to shoot your campaign, that's different.
Yeah.
You know, that's a job.
Content.
Yeah, exactly. But if you're trying to gift or trying to, you know, get them just to wear it, for us in the States, it was really handy to have a PR agency and they did like a gifting suite.
Yep.
Their retainers are a big, but they're not insanely big. And that in the States is super, super helpful. That really helped us.
What sort of numbers we talking?
Like that, their retainer for us was $5,000 a month US.
Oh, that's not too bad.
It's not bad.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
not bad. I mean, that's still for us. We were like, no, what are you going to give us? Like, tell us, you know. But it was really helpful because in the States, they operate more in that way. Whereas in Australia, it's more direct influencer. So in Australia, you know, if you want to get on a celebrity, I mean, you know, they're not as big as the States anyway. But in the States, if you really want to get, say, on a Kardashian, find the agency that they're pulling from or their stylists are pulling from.
Yes. And
sign up with them. And it is money for a smaller business, but I do think that it would pay off. I mean, it did for us. It's like they do suites for Coachella. They do a suite for Miami Swim Week. You know, for us, that was really important. And the celebrities or the stylists come in and they just take a bunch of stuff and then hopefully it gets on them.
Yeah. And I'm curious, when you said you're speaking with with private equity or Bain or had investors? Like, how come you guys didn't sell?
It always got to a point where we would have these numbers thrown at us that were pretty high, and it was all like amazing, and we're going to offer you this, and and it was never a majority. It was always minority, share that we were looking at selling or selling the whole thing. Most people didn't want it to buy the whole thing because they want us to be involved. Obviously, it's a new business.
Yes.
Once we really learnt that, we would get to these, have these meetings, get pretty close to like maybe thinking about signing something, and then we'd sit and go, what do we really, really value about our day? And it was having freedom and having no one to answer to and not having a boss or another person. And we knew that if we brought anyone else in, majority, minority, it would just mean that we had to be accountable to other people. And that was really, we didn't want it. And, no amount of money was going to, shift that for us. So they didn't really get anywhere because of that. Yeah. And which is good. It was a really good thing to kind of value. I think as an entrepreneur, you value your freedoms so much. That's usually why you've left, your other job and your other sort of work that you've done. So you got to be really mindful before you give that up.
Well, look, Erin, thank you so much for taking the time. This is awesome. And thank you for being so open, honest, and sharing with all the lessons you've learned.
You're welcome.
You're going full circle now. This is awesome.
Yeah.
So, thank you so much.
Again. Thank you. Thanks, Ethan.
Hey guys, if you love this episode, you've got to check out my interview with Davey Fogarty on how he finds trends in undercapitalized markets and turns them into multi-million-dollar businesses.
I'm generally looking for trends globally. We find trends that haven't been kind of capitalized in certain markets or in certain marketing channels.
Yes.
And then we also obviously add our flair to it. You need to differentiate your product